Before the shadows deepen and the story begins, I've got one quick request. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers on the Obsidian Quill Publishing YouTube channel. "10 p.m. The smell of melted wax and old wood filled the still air of the church. A lean figure stepped through the heavy doors, the echo of his footsteps ringing out across the stone floor, each one swallowed by the emptiness between the pews. His eyes scanned the dim sanctuary. Then he saw it, a lone confessional near the back. He approached slowly, opened the gate, and stepped inside. The curtain shifted, and through the mesh window, the silhouette of a priest appeared, settling into the opposite seat. He was breathing heavily. The figure spoke first. "Are you all right, Father?" "Yes, my son," the priest replied, voice slightly strained. "Just winded. My chambers are 2 flights up." A pause. "I'm here for you. Speak freely." The man hesitated, his voice low, conflicted. "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been years since my last confession, and honestly, I don't even know if I'm worthy. I'm torn, full of indecision." A quiet rustle. Then the priest spoke. "All God's children are worthy of his forgiveness. Go on." Silence followed. Then the figure exhaled slowly. "I'm a werewolf, Father." The priest's breath caught in his throat. "You are a what?" he managed. The partition wood creaked as the stranger leaned closer, voice firm but low. "A werewolf, Father." Silence swelled between them, thick as the candle-scented air. I see," the priest whispered. "Tell me everything." "I wasn't born this way," the man began, voice steady but freighted with memory. 3 years ago, my parents retired and bought a farmhouse in the English countryside near Essex, rolling green hills straight off a postcard, Father. A white and tan 2-story cottage surrounded by wheat fields and oak trees older than our country. We all flew out together to help them paint, unpack, make it theirs. We finished around the middle of the summer. To celebrate, we went into town for an authentic English dinner. The village was small, quiet, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. At first, they seemed wary of us, cautious. But once they found out we were the American family who'd bought the old farmstead, they warmed up real quick. Locals started buying us pints, cheering us on at darts, laughing, drinking. It felt good, real. My mother and father decided to call it an early night and drove back to the house, leaving my brothers and me at the pub. A few of the townsfolk started talking about the local nightlife, even offered to take us into London the following weekend. We thought we were making friends. He paused. The wood of the confessional creaked as he shifted, breath catching. Then came the walk home. The moon was full that night, so bright it lit the fields in silver. You could see everything. Almost like daylight, but wrong somehow. My brothers and I were half drunk, laughing, weaving a little on the road. It was quiet, peaceful. We thought our beds would feel amazing when we got back. As we turned to leave the village, one of the locals called out after us, "Stay on the road, avoid the trees." We laughed it off. Maybe it was the beers, maybe the whiskey, maybe just pride. But about a mile into the walk, nature called. There was a small trio of trees off the road, just past a hedgerow, and we all stumbled toward them to take a piss. He swallowed hard. My youngest brother was at the tree closest to the woods. I looked down to zip up, and when I looked back, he was gone. We heard rustling in the brush. Figured he was trying to spook us. Classic little brother stuff. So we split up, trying to outflank him. That's when we heard it. His voice dropped, haunted, reverent. A growl, low, wet, wrong. I've heard coyotes, foxes, dogs fighting in alleys back home, but this was something else. Something not quite animal, not quite human, like it was between the two. My body locked up. I couldn't even call out. His voice trembled. Then I saw him. My little brother stepped out of the trees about 10 feet away. He was holding his stomach, or I thought it was his stomach. It was his guts, his intestines, spilling through his fingers like bloody rope, and he was trying to push them back in, like he could fix it. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then it stepped out behind him, taller, hairier, massive. It wrapped one arm around him and, God forgive me, it ripped open his neck like it was nothing. I heard the bones snap. Then it looked at me, over my brother's body. Those yellow eyes. That's the part I still see in my dreams. He stopped. The silence in the confessional was thick. The priest did not speak. I started backing away, he whispered. I was frozen. But then my other brother, God help him, jumped out from behind the thing and yelled, "Got you!" like he was still playing some dumb game. He didn't realize what he was looking at, not until it turned. It grabbed him by the chest and bit into him, pulled, tore, until he came apart. He sucked in air like he'd been underwater. I ran. I don't remember my feet touching the ground. I was just gone. I found the road again, and I could hear my sneakers slapping the gravel. I was going to slow down, catch my breath, but then I heard it, behind me, a deep, rumbling growl, close. I looked back. It was running on 2 legs, fast, so fast, and it was gaining. I was screaming, "Help me, please, it's gonna kill me." As I ran, lungs burning, vision blurring, I didn't care who heard me. I just wanted to live. I was halfway between the village and my parents' house. Nowhere, no lights, no help, just me and whatever that was. I couldn't go any farther. But adrenaline, it's a strange thing. Somehow I dug deeper, found a second wind. My legs kicked harder, faster, but it wasn't enough. I felt the impact first, like a truck slamming into me from behind. It sent me flying. I hit the ground hard, dirt and gravel tearing at my palms, and the air whooshed from my lungs. I tried to scream, but there was nothing left. Then I felt it, its teeth, sinking deep into my shoulder, hot, searing, bone deep. I screamed, not just from pain, but from knowing this was it, my end, my death. But then, bang, a gunshot split the air. He paused, breath trembling. The thing reeled back, howling. It stood up over me, backlit by the moon. That's when I saw it clearly for the first time. It was a man, but it wasn't. It had the face of a human, mostly, but the jaw was elongated, packed with fangs. Its eyes weren't right, glowing, animal. And its hands. God, its hands were claws, long, curved, meant for tearing. It roared, this deep, echoing sound that rattled my insides, and looked toward whoever had fired. Then more gunshots, loud, sharp. I saw the bullets hit it, one after another, thudding into its chest, shoulder, ribs. Blood sprayed from its side, and it staggered backward, snarling, swiping wildly at the dark. Then it dropped. That's the last thing I saw before I passed out. He took a long breath. The church was silent. I woke up 3 days later in a sterile hospital room. The light was too bright, my body too heavy. A nurse was checking my shoulder. It throbbed like it was still being torn apart. I heard someone say I had a fever of 103. Another voice, calmer, said, "It looks like a bear attack. Large claws, deep lacerations." But my mind was already elsewhere. Flashes of that night hit me like gunshots. Not claws, Teeth, not eyes, yellow, glowing, like fire. "No," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "It wasn't a bear." I turned toward the doctor, my heart pounding. "It was bigger. It wasn't an animal. It killed my brothers. It nearly killed me." They exchanged glances, probably thought I was delusional from the fever, but I knew what I saw. Then I saw my parents. They looked broken, sleep-deprived, scared. The moment they realized I was awake, they rushed over, hugging me like they were afraid I'd vanish again. We didn't have much left to bury. My brother's remains were too torn up, too far gone. We had them cremated and held a small service. Just close family. Just pain. I cried the entire day. 15 days later, I was home. My shoulder had healed. Too well. The doctors were shocked. They called it remarkable recovery. But that's the thing. Everything healed. Every cut, every bruise, gone. Like nothing ever happened. Except it did. The nightmares were real. The eyes, the teeth, the screams. I couldn't sleep. Every night I woke up drenched in sweat, heart pounding. I felt hot, like I was burning from the inside. One night, I couldn't take it. I crept downstairs for some water. The air felt heavier than usual. I flicked the light switch. Nothing. Then, crack, a bat smashed into my head. I stumbled, dazed, the world spinning into darkness. Through blurred vision, I saw them. 3 figures, shadows moving inside my house. They didn't know. They had no idea what they had just done. There had been a string of break-ins in the neighborhood, a warning on the news. But mine was the last house they ever entered. Because that night, I changed. And something inside me broke free. "Where's the stuff?" They began kicking me, laughing. I should have been in pain, but I barely felt it. I remember yelling, "Stop!" But it wasn't my voice. It came out like a growl, deep, guttural, primal. It caught them off guard. One tried swinging again, but I caught the bat midair. And that's when I saw it. My hand. It wasn't mine. It was a claw. And my vision. It was crystal clear. I could see every detail, every tremble in their eyes. He leaned forward. I tried to speak, to warn them, but all that came out was the beast. I tore into the first one, his neck shattered in my jaws. The blood, it was hot, thick, tasted like iron and fear. I dropped him and turned to the second. He was already in my grip. I slit him open from collarbone to belly like meat on a butcher's block. The third one made it to the car. He was screaming. I landed on the hood, punched through the windshield, ripped him out, and slammed him on the pavement. My claws made short work of him. I didn't stop until he wasn't moving anymore. A silence followed, broken only by the faint fluttering of a candle. By the time I heard sirens, it was too late. The neighbors saw me, but they didn't know what they were looking at. Something fast, something wrong. I ran into the woods. Next morning, I woke up lying next to the torn-up body of a deer. I made it back to the house unnoticed. Told the cops I was jumped, but something else came in and fought them off. They believed me, ruled me out. He exhaled slowly. I tried to live normally, but there's no normal after that. My senses were sharper, stronger. I started hearing things, like a man talking about selling trafficked girls like they were product. I followed him. I gave him a chance to let them go. When he refused, I let the wolf deal with him. The priest shifted in his seat, visibly uneasy. For the past 3 years, I've been cleaning up, delivering justice where the law wouldn't. That slumlord in the Bronx who let children get cancer because of the lead pipes and cheap insecticides he used in his building. Gone. The serial killer in LA who killed 16 women. Gone. You did that? The priest asked, his voice trembling. I can understand your need for confession. Yes. I did that and a lot more, but each one was a monster, and in turn had to face a real monster, he answered without hesitation. But that's not why I'm here tonight. The priest stiffened. Then, why are you here, my son? The stranger's voice was low, burdened. Because tonight, I found something I didn't expect. Each person that faced my justice, I gave an option or an out. They refused, and the wolf had them. But tonight I came across a monster that deserves no mercy. Their fate has been sealed by their disgusting actions. He continued. I was walking along the highway when I saw a pickup stranded on the shoulder. Looked like it had broken down. Inside were an elderly man and his wife, both bleeding, barely conscious. I rushed them to the hospital. He paused, jaw tight. They'd been robbed, shot. The woman, she'd been raped. The silence that followed pressed in like a storm cloud. They were on their way home from the bank, celebrating his retirement, their second honeymoon. They'd saved their entire lives, planning to travel overseas, build wells, feed the hungry, spread the word of God. He looked down, voice softer now. He was a priest. She was a member of his congregation. They fell in love. He gave up his collar. For her. This trip, they called it their mission of love. Then his voice hardened. The thief took everything. Their money, their wedding rings, his Bible, the one his mother gave him the day he graduated seminary. He paused, then continued. She died at 9:40 p.m. He followed at 9:45, not from the wounds, but from heartbreak. The stranger exhaled, controlled, calm. I swore I'd find whoever did it, make them pay for stealing their dream. He stared straight ahead, and I did. Tracked his scent, followed it, all the way here. The priest's face paled. Here? He stammered. You followed him? To this church? The stranger nodded once, slow, deliberate. Yes. And like I said, I was torn between action and restraint. His voice darkened. I wanted to call the police, let them handle it. But then I remembered what this man did. The air grew heavy, suffocating. He shot a defenseless old man, raped his wife, took all they had. Not just their possessions, their purpose, their faith, their future. Then he came back, to the church, their church, and when someone came in, he pretended to be the priest. He leaned closer. A glint of yellow flickered through the slats of the confessional. Now he sits across from me in a box meant for redemption. The priest's breath hitched. You robbed a man of God and left him to die like a stray. The stranger's voice dropped, now more beast than man. You don't deserve mercy. Then, a guttural growl, a flash of claw, a massive hand punched through the confessional screen, splinters flying. The priest screamed, stumbled back. The confessional exploded behind him as something enormous burst free. He ran, down the aisle, heart pounding, robes flapping. But it was too late. It followed, 7 feet tall, brown fur, muscles layered like armor, a snout full of jagged teeth, claws dragging like blades. The remains of shredded jeans still clung to its monstrous frame. And then it howled, a furious, guttural roar that thundered through the rafters like the final judgment. The priest turned, just once, and met glowing yellow eyes. He threw open the heavy cathedral doors, bolted into the night. Behind him, the wood groaned under weight, then shattered, as the creature emerged through the now doorless portal, like the wrath of God himself. The fake priest fumbled into his car, nearly dropping his revolver as he turned the key with shaking hands. The engine roared. Tires screamed against asphalt as the car rocketed forward, fishtailing onto the road. Breathing hard, he looked in the rearview mirror. It was too close, he muttered, shaking, sweat beading on his temple. What the hell was that? A werewolf? That thing turned into a freaking... Then his voice cut off. In the side mirror, something moved. Not something. Him. The werewolf was running alongside the car, fast, effortless, like a predator playing with prey, 60 miles per hour, and it was gaining. No, he whispered, flooring the gas. Then he made the mistake of looking right, and there it was, its face just outside the passenger window, yellow eyes burning. A smirk curled the edge of its lip, revealing bloodied fangs. Bang! The revolver fired. The glass shattered, spraying the dashboard. Missed. Bang! Another shot, still missed. Then, gone. The creature vanished from view. The priest blinked, trembling, trying to process. When he heard it. Grrr! A low growl. His breath caught. Slowly, he turned his head, and there it was, on his side. Running on the driver's side, its face inches from the glass and him. He screamed. The werewolf's clawed hand punched through the driver's side window, shards of tempered glass slicing across his face. Blood sprayed. The monster gripped the steering wheel and ripped it out. The wheel tore free with a metallic shriek, and the car careened wildly, sparks flying as tires lost control. The priest howled in pain and fear, one hand on the useless stub of the column, the other holding a now empty revolver. The last thing he saw was yellow eyes and a grin made of nightmares. The car flew off the road. Tires screamed, then silence. It landed nose first into a ditch, rolling partially into the woods. Steam hissed from the hood. The priest coughed, dazed, blood trickling from a gash above his brow. With a desperate grunt, he kicked the door open and stumbled out, gasping for breath. He looked up to the road above and saw it. The werewolf. Silhouetted by moonlight, the beast stood like a nightmare statue, eyes glowing yellow, breath steaming in the cool air. Then it moved, slowly, purposefully, like death with a pulse. No. The priest turned and ran, tripping through the brush. His robe tangled in branches. He tore it off and staggered forward, panic and branches clawing at his face. The forest was alive behind him, footsteps pounding, brush parting, growls like thunder in his ears. He stopped just long enough to reload. His revolver trembled in his bloody hand. Bang, 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 wild shots into the dark. I'm sorry, he sobbed, backing into a tree. Silence, only the sound of his ragged breathing. Leaves rustled gently above. His wide eyes searched the darkness until he heard it from above. He looked up and saw it, perched like a gargoyle among the branches. The beast, eyes aflame, claws twitching, fangs gleaming. It pounced. The forest exploded with motion. Screams, flesh tearing, bones breaking, blood spurting against bark and leaf. Then, a howl. Long, triumphant, inhuman. And then, silence. Dawn broke. Yellow tape fluttered along the highway's edge. Police, local sheriff's deputies, and the FBI stood around the mangled wreckage of the priest's car. A small crowd gathered behind the cordon, murmuring, clutching coffees and clutching their children. Another one. An officer whispered. Just like L.A. and New York City, said the FBI agent grimly. Same footprints, same hair samples, no weapon. It's like a wild animal attack. No one heard the whispering. They couldn't. Only one set of ears picked up the whispers. A man in a faded hoodie, hands in his pockets. He smiled faintly. He turned and began walking, away from the wreck, away from the whispers, away from the scene. The morning sun cast his long shadow down the road toward town. Thank you for watching Redemption, a tale brought to you by Obsidian Quill Publishing, where shadow meets story. If this journey kept you on edge, stirred your imagination, or made you question what walks among us in the dark, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Obsidian Quill Publishing YouTube channel for more original horror, cryptid, and supernatural stories every week. Born of shadow, inked with power, bound for legacy. Until next time, keep the lights on.